Hamas needs to be taken out. It is a terrorist organization.
How would you do that?
But I think the way to do that, as many terrorism experts have said, is to create a durable and strong coalition of allies within the Middle East, with the United States, with Israel, to make sure that we have a long-term political solution, that there is an alternative to Hamas to lead in Gaza and to establish a state for Palestinians. This is, I mean, we have to condemn what Hamas did on October 7th. We cannot allow for 15,000 Palestinians to date to have been killed.
Even as Israel's aerial bombardments of the Gaza Strip lead to more women and children losing life and limbs, the incessant deflections to what occurred on October 7th also continue, as if what's transpiring today as we speak isn't something that we should pay any attention to whatsoever. Now, as you heard from progressive Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal, she very clearly condemned Hamas. She very clearly referred to it as a terrorist organization, but it wasn't good enough for Dana Bash. In fact, she got real snippy when Pramila Jayapal had the audacity to call out the insanely high civilian death toll, which mostly consists of women and children in Palestine. So with that said, let's watch more of how that conversation went down.
I've seen a lot of progressive women, generally speaking, they're quick to defend women's rights and speak out against using rape as a weapon of war, but downright silent on what we saw on October 7th.
And I've condemned what Hamas has done. I've condemned
specifically
all of the actions. Absolutely, the rape, of course. But I think we have to remember that Israel is a democracy. That is why they are a strong ally of ours. And if they do not comply with international humanitarian law, they are bringing themselves to a place that makes it much more difficult strategically for them to be able to build the kinds of allies, to keep public opinion with them. And frankly, morally, I think we cannot say that one war crime deserves another.
So if you have two brain cells to rub together, what Pramila Jayapal said there was pretty clear, right? We have higher standards for a so-called democracy and an ally of the United States. And slaughtering a high percentage of innocent civilians is going to lead to more extremism, and it's going to keep Israel less safe. She's very clear. She's condemning Hamas. She's condemning the sexual violence committed against women, Israeli women. But she's also saying, hey, but Israel needs to think a little more strategically about how they're carrying out these military operations. Dana Bash, not happy about that. Let's watch.
With respect, I was just asking about the women, and you turned it back to Israel. I'm asking you about Hamas. In fact,
I already answered your question, Dana. I said it's horrific, and I think that rape is horrific, sexual assault is horrific. I think that it happens in war situations. Terrorist organizations like Hamas obviously are using these as tools. However, I think we have to be balanced about bringing in the outrages against Palestinians. 15,000 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli airstrikes, 3/4 of whom are women and children.
And it's horrible, but you don't see Israeli soldiers raping.
Well, Dana, I think we're not. I don't want this to be the hierarchy of oppressions. I think 15,000 people have been killed.
So rapes are abhorrent and absolutely should be condemned, which Pramila Jayapal did several times in the context of that interview. But you know what's also terrible? Slaughtering women and children on the other side. But you're not allowed to bring that up because it's considered equivocating. I don't think it's even equivocating, especially when you consider the numbers on the Palestinian side. We're just supposed to pretend like that doesn't exist? And by the way, like what more do you want her to do? Do you want her to burn herself alive in protest of what Hamas did? She condemned Hamas. How many more times do you want her to condemn Hamas before we can actually have a substantive discussion about what's happening right now, what's happening right now? Go ahead, Cenk.
So I think this is a new trick. So this is a way of preventing any criticism of Israel, because you ask someone, do you condemn Hamas? You go, yeah, of course I condemn Hamas. But we came on to talk about what Israel's doing in Gaza, so let me also criticize Israel. Oh, I can't believe you would do equivocation and say that it's a false balance. How dare you criticize Israel when we were talking about Hamas? Are you trying to cover up for Hamas? Well, okay, so this is a trick. So Dana Bash, admit that you're doing, and by the way, she started with a total lie. She started with, now, a lot of progressive women aren't criticizing rape. What, where, what, how? What are you talking about?
No, you should.
Where did you come up with that? What a preposterous lie.
Take her at face value, Cenk. She says it, so it must be true.
Oh yeah, what a journalist. Show me, and if, okay, so if this is the trick, they're like, well, Pramila Jayapal and other progressive women have condemned Hamas in all of these different ways. But they didn't mention such and such rape, so that doesn't count. So they didn't mention the rapes. Okay, Dana Bash. 8 premature babies dead in El Shifa Hospital, 3 dead in Al Nasser. Did you tweet about it, mention it publicly at all? If you didn't mention that Israel murdering those 11 babies, I guess you don't care about babies. I mean, you didn't say it publicly. You didn't say it publicly. So you're in favor of the terrorists, Dana Bash. I mean, this is your dumbass logic.
No, but honestly, at this point, Dana Bash, do you condemn what Israel is doing in slaughtering babies?
That's a real question.
Hey, Dana Bash, I haven't heard you. I haven't heard anyone on corporate media, any of these corporate media hosts condemn the barbarism and brutality of the IDF. Dana Bash, are you okay with premature babies being taken off of the machines keeping them alive? Or the babies who are left to suffer and die on their own as hospitals are forced to be evacuated? Is that okay? Do you condemn it? I mean, it's just so gross. And then you have the Democrats lining up one by one to condemn Pramila Jayapal as if she didn't very clearly, multiple times in that interview, condemn Hamas. Let's start with Debbie Dingell.
How would you have had your colleague answer Dana's question?
I'm going to talk to Pramila. I have a call into her. I think I'm going to just speak for myself on this subject, and I'm raw on this subject because of the hate that I have had directed at me for speaking the truth. I will speak the truth, and I don't care who it is. Rape is an act of violence, and it becomes too often a tool in any act of war. And as women everywhere, we must stand up for women everywhere.
Oh, that's fascinating. I mean, she's so disgusted with what happened with Hamas, and she should be. Obviously, this is an opportunity for her to condemn Pramila Jayapal while pretending to play nice. But let's just get a good hard look at who Debbie Dingell is, right? Because she's not on the record condemning the slaughter of innocent children in Gaza, the slaughter of innocent premature babies in Gaza. She has no problem with that. She hasn't said anything about it publicly, at least. But she has been on the record in regard to human rights for Palestinian children. Let's go back to 2019. This is a headline from the Detroit Free Press. Dingell withdraws support for bill promoting human rights for Palestinian children.
Vote her out.
Okay, so I looked into the piece because headline can be misleading, right? I wanted to read and see maybe there's a good reason why she was against humanitarian rights or human rights for Palestinian children. So the bill talked about how 500 to 700 Palestinian kids between the ages of 12 to 17 are basically detained by Israel every year, and they're prosecuted before a military court system that lacks basic and fundamental guarantees of due process in violation of international standards. So this legislation was meant to respond to that and expect better from Israel in regard to the prosecution of children. And Dingell wasn't in favor of it. She says, we must be committed to promoting a peaceful two-state solution that empowers the Palestinian people to live in dignity and security with Israel. After talking with many in my community about this bill, meaning the lobbyists, the pro-Israel lobbyists, come on, I felt HR 2407 was ultimately counterproductive to a peaceful two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. How exactly is the fair prosecution of children who have been detained by Israel somehow an obstacle to a two-state solution? Come on, Debbie.
Can you imagine if they said it in reverse? Well, look, I don't want to condemn Hamas for taking his children as hostages without any due process, because it would be counterproductive to a two-state solution. That would be a lunatic thing to say, right? But they say it about Israel. Oh yeah, they kidnapped a whole bunch of people. I detained them indefinitely with no charges. They won't even bring him to a military court, which convicts them at a 99% rate. They have such little evidence, they won't bring it to a kangaroo court. But no, it's not kidnapping when a government does it. When a government does it, it's beautiful and should be respected. And they have a right to defend themselves by taking non-stop hostages from the other side. Okay, so, but the thing that bothers me the most is they're all pretending And now no one knows. Like if you ask anybody that just barely is paying attention to this kind of conflict, but they heard about Pramila Jayapal, they'll all think that she didn't condemn Hamas or didn't condemn the rapes.
Exactly.
Because everyone in media and every politician is pretending she didn't condemn them. When we showed it to you, you just saw it with your own eyes and you heard it with your own ears. Several times she condemned Hamas and said they have to be rooted out completely. And she said the rape, it was terrible and horrific. I mean, what else do you want her to say? Say what you want her to say and be honest about it. Here's what they actually want her to say. Oh, those Palestinians, they're such monsters and savages. It's all their fault. Oh, Israel, no, I can't criticize Israel because you already asked me to comment about Hamas. Because it can't happen in the same interview. Otherwise, we'll say false equivocation. This is our new trick for protecting our beloved Israel, okay? And look at what Dana Bash said there. She's like, well, Israeli soldiers don't rape Hamas and Palestinian women. Wait, hold on. Well, before we even get to any rape or anything like that, 15,000 dead civilians in Gaza, a huge percentage of them women. So Israeli soldiers do drop bombs that crush the skulls of Palestinian women, that burn Palestinian women alive. That's what happens when you drop a bomb on someone. Are you gonna pretend that's not what happens?
Yes, they are, and that's what they're doing as we speak. And by the way, the atrocities committed by Hamas were awful and should be condemned.
Obviously.
But what is currently happening in Gaza is currently happening in Gaza as we speak, with our money, with our bombs. And so the point of having these discussions in regard to what Israel is doing is to apply pressure so Israel stops doing it. But you're not allowed to have that conversation. You're not allowed to have that conversation. Sorry, Jake, go ahead.
Yeah, so Dana Bash, have you condemned what Israeli soldiers are doing? What the IDF is doing, what Israel is doing? Have you condemned burning all those people alive when they drop bombs on them? Oh, you haven't. What kind of monster does that make you? And that one's real. Before, when I was doing the hyperbole, I'm saying, how would it feel if you said this? But in this case, all you're doing is running cover for Israel in this case. Don't criticize Israel. How dare you? They're allowed to burn as many women as they like. Oh, they're civilians. Who cares? They're Palestinians. Why don't you just be honest for the first time in your life and just say it? Just say it. You don't care about Palestinian women. Okay, so Israeli women dying, we all agree, we say it, Pramila Jayapal says it, every progressive says it. It's horrible, horrific, Hamas shouldn't have done it. But when it comes to Israel killing women, all of a sudden we're divided. We say it's terrible, and Dana Bash and all those politicians come out and go, not horrible. Not horrible.
Okay, so let's be fair. Unlike Dana Bash, let's be fair. Dana Bash doesn't say it isn't horrible. It's just that she wants to immediately pivot away from a discussion about how horrible that is. And by the way, you want to talk about rape? Okay, we could talk about rape. There was actually a different CNN program featuring the State Department official who actually quit, veteran of the State Department, Josh Paul, who quit over the US arms transfers to the IDF, to Israel. So Josh Paul actually talked about the topic of rape while speaking to Christiane Amanpour. Take a look at the video.
I was part of the human rights vetting process for arms going to Israel, and a charity called Defense of Children International Palestine drew our attention at the State Department to the sexual assault, actually the rape of a 13-year-old boy that occurred in an Israeli prison in the Mosque Bia in Jerusalem. We examined these allegations. We believed they were credible. We put them to the government of Israel. And you know what happened the next day? The IDF went into the DCIP offices and removed all their computers and declared them a terrorist entity. I think it is vital that atrocities not happen to anyone, not sexual atrocities, not sexual violations, not any kind of gross violation of human rights. We are looking at a situation where there is so much dehumanification, where people are not seen for the value that they have. And I think that's true whether you're talking about those who are attacked on their kibbutz or those who are attacked in their homes in Gaza.
So can we have a conversation about that, Dana? Is that okay?
How come she didn't tweet about it? Dana Bash has never said anything about that 13-year-old boy being raped by Israeli soldiers or whoever did it in the prison. Let's be fair. How come you haven't condemned it? That's it. According, not to my standards thinks this is insane. But according to Dana Bash's standards, she's pro 13-year-old rape. Because she didn't condemn it. She didn't condemn it. And don't you dare ever mention Palestinian atrocities, because you can't condemn that and mention Palestinian atrocities at the same time. That's your new standard. That's your new standard. We're only allowed to talk about that one issue. You like your new standard? This is absurd. Why don't you, look, this is just a protection racket for the Israeli government and its atrocities. Yep. And every time you say that it's a false equivocation when Israel has killed more than 10 times as many civilians. What you're saying is those civilian lives don't actually matter because I don't think Palestinians are human beings. And that's actually real. To say, how dare you equivocate Hamas and Israel when Israel has only killed 10 times as many people as Hamas. Okay, then you're admitting you just don't care about Palestinian lives.
They're literally bombing ambulances, okay? Dozens of doctors have died in Gaza. Dozens of journalists have died in Gaza. The number's quickly approaching 100. I mean, and it's continuing. That is the reason why people want to have that conversation. That kind of carnage is continuing. You can't go back in time and stop Hamas from doing the disgusting atrocities it had committed on October 7th. But the hope in having the conversations about what Israel is currently doing is, again, that it could potentially apply enough pressure to prevent the slaughter of innocent people.
And Hamas is not our ally. Israel is our ally.
Exactly.
We give money to Israel. We don't give money to Hamas. We just gave $14 billion more to Israel to bomb more Palestinian women and burn them alive, babies and burn them alive when they drop bombs on their buildings. What are you gonna do? You're gonna pretend that's not what happens when you drop a 2,000-pound bomb on a refugee camp or a residential building? Go ahead, do more propaganda. Pretend you're a journalist until the whole time say, don't anybody ever criticize Israel, okay? And then watch, they'll come back around and say, even though we said it how many times did we say it? You can go count how many times we said Hamas was wrong and committed atrocities. I bet you they watch this video and then they come out and lie all over media and go, oh no, they didn't condemn Hamas enough.
Right, no, to 100%. And guess what, we don't care.
We don't care,
yeah,
we do the truth here.
Exactly.
We do the truth about all sides here. We don't do propaganda for a living. If you enjoyed this video, that's because of our members. They make us independent, they make us strong, and they make us honest. Become a member today by hitting the join button below.